What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Tyler's Talking RC. I'm Tyler C. here with
I'm Tyler P.
Tyler P. What's up, guys? Today we're just having a little fun, no real specific topic. We're going to be talking about some of our personal trucks and sharing with you some of our builds and a little bit of the story behind why we have said truck and why we're running it and what we've done custom to the vehicles. We're going to have a couple segments here. Racing, crawling, and bashing are our three little segments for our cars. We're going to open up with the race cars because me and Tyler are so much alike that we run the same exact car. But we got some different electronics and different tire setups and, different stuff like that. So we're just going to share them at the same time. And then we'll go into the other trucks. Yeah, you can bring yours in, Tyler. I'm going to grab mine in the back here.
Let's see. Maybe do it like that.
Oh, you want me to do it like that too? Nice. Alright, so what we got here are two B6.3 two-wheel drive stock buggy. We both run the stock buggy class. Get that mouse out there. Mine, I'll go, I don't know, you want me to go first or you want to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so mine, of course, being the yellow and the purple one here. Custom paint job. I'm sure you guys have seen this in some videos. It's been around. I let a lot of people try it, and I do some videos on it. Shout out to Bob Smith for the cool paint job. I'll pop the hood here. In my setup, I'm running a Hobbywing XR10 Pro speed control, a Trinity certified 17.5 motor. I have a Sanwa radio. It's actually an M12. It's the older one. A little big and heavy. I'm not a huge fan. I get that one. It's over there. I usually run a 17 or a 44, but it's just what I had. I sold the other one. What are you going to do? And I got the Power HD S15 servo. Love those Power HD servos. They've been working really well for me. And, of course, a New Wave 5200 130C 2-cell, full size. I run full size. My car is not skinny, as Tyler would keeps yelling at me for.
I drove it today.
I think it's like 120 grams overweight, but it drives nice and I like it, so I'm not going to change it. That's it.
And it's not it's not slow.
It goes good.
The car made good laps, even with a set of tires that are well scrubbed in. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh yeah, tires. I run Schumacher mezzos and cut staggers in the front. No tires are a bit of a debate. At least rear tires in two-wheel drive. We all pretty much agree on the fronts. But yeah, then I got various Exotech parts in mine on the steering. I got a brass bulkhead, some Speed Secret 2.5mm titanium screws, and some J-Concept shock caps. Other than that, it's pretty much just a regular B6 other than a couple fancy parts. That's pretty much my race car there. What do you got going on, Tyler?
As I hit the microphone.
Yeah,
all right, so
bumping those a lot tonight.
Yet another, pardon the Velcro. Pop that seal. Lift that tab. All right, so B6.3, as we talked about, I'm running, it's actually a second-hand ESC. I wouldn't have gone out and bought it of my own volition, but it's a much more Fleta V2, I think. And I really like it. I bought the program card for it. It has a bunch of tunability, basically on par with any like really high-end ESC. It's been super smooth, runs efficient. I have the fan on it just because I don't want to separate it from the ESC. It runs plenty cool. Also, Trinity certified 17.5 X-Factor motor, ProTech servo. Try to get in a little bit closer there. Play with the lighting.
A little hard to see. We'll do close-up videos.
This is probably the least modded B6. Okay, so I haven't told you about this stuff. This is cool, and this is where this podcast is fun, is when it kind of gets organic, because he and I've been here for the last 3 hours today trying different tires, and I haven't had a chance to catch him up on any of the stuff that I'm doing. So world premiere. Here's what somebody with more money than common sense does with their stock car that's probably better than they are as a driver. Anyway, this car right now is very basic. I don't have the brass bulkhead. I don't think a single hop up other than
I see him right there.
The +3 steering arms, which are kind of buried in there.
That's a hop up.
Well, it's also a necessity if you start getting rid of caster
It's not a hop, it's a necessity.
to control bump steer. I do have the slipper eliminator. That's about it right now.
Mine still got the slipper on it. I didn't touch on the mine's stock there.
Yeah, and honestly, like unless you're going super bananas crazy,
Yeah,
it's
a little bit of weight reduction, I guess, and
yeah.
but it's pretty unnoticeable in my opinion. I'm not gonna lie.
So here's where I'm stupid.
Okay.
Coming in the mail is a full set of ceramic bearings, which will be the first time I'll ever have a car with them. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Okay.
I know when I ran the mini Nats last year, all right, so I had people calling me a cheater in the stock class because I cleaned out my bearings, cleaned out my transmission, and pulled everybody 2 or 3 car lengths on the straightaway.
I remember.
People were legitimately angry, and not so much using the C word, cheater. Not anyway. But they were mad. So I think friction and losses are a real thing in these cars. If you're trying to get the top 5% out of the car, and again, like if you're upside down once during a race, it all erases all of that anyway. But I like to tinker. So ceramic bearings are coming.
Did you order the whole car or just the transmission?
Whole car.
Whole car. All right.
The front end honestly really doesn't matter.
I would be interested in see a before and an after with the transmission if we could do that.
Ooh,
It's just
good idea.
when the tranny's out, spin it even with the old bearings in.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Just do a quick and then put the new ones in and give it a and then I'll try to if we can pull that off, I'll definitely post that up because I would be interested to see the difference there.
I think it's substantial.
And then even with the motors disconnected, if we push the cars to see what it did.
Yeah, right.
Looks like Pinewood Derby cars.
Super expensive Pinewood Derby cars.
But the transmission I am interested in.
So that's the ceramic bearings are coming.
Nice.
I also found Matt Olson Designs, MOD.
Nice guy, cool guy. He's been here a few times actually.
Oh, he has?
Yeah, he was here. He's actually the one that did the coverage for the last J Concept race. So shout out to Matt Olson.
So he makes some crazy hop-up parts for
Yeah.
these cars, and he makes an aluminum output shaft. So basically, let's see if we can do this. This piece right here, going from transmission to your outdrive, he makes them in aluminum. It saves a fistful of grams on each side of the car. So I have those coming.
I think we
and
have him.
Awkward.
He didn't know.
I didn't know. I figured that was a little bit
No,
in
we
the
actually,
weeds.
well, when he came here for the JC race, he gave us some of the. Well, didn't give us some. We bought some of the parts off him.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody's interested, we do have them. And Tyler will be doing probably a little video on that.
Yeah,
But,
those were. So my original B6, I pimped out like crazy. I had titanium outdrives to the wheels. I had pucks. I had titanium top shaft, a bunch of stuff, and I didn't do ceramics, but it definitely freed the car up. It wound out a little bit faster on the straightaways and stuff like that. In the twisties, you really don't feel it that much, but so that stuff's coming. The other thing that I went full party mode on this. You can see the original B6 chassis is very much cookie cutter, what every other car looks like. I'm blanking on the name of the company now. The German. I think they're associated with Rud Dog somehow.
Okay.
But they make a low CG chassis.
Low CG.
So what they basically did was they scalloped the chassis where the battery would otherwise poke through, like right here and right here if you were to if you lowered the battery in the chassis. So they scalloped it so that the battery can sit lower.
Okay.
And there's a huge cutout right here where the motor would be to allow the motor, because of course the motor is, a curved shape, to let the motor sit lower in the chassis as well, and it comes with its own motor plate. So
Dang.
I went full party mode, and I'm going to throw all this stuff on the car. For me, and I've complained about this or talked about this before, I get really nervous in races. I get jittery, and then I make mistakes. So the more mellow the car is for me, the better. I watch guys drive edgy cars on the edge all day. I don't have that talent.
You got an ETA on that chassis? Oh, you said it was from Germany.
It's coming from Germany, but they retail them through A-Main.
Oh, okay.
And they're on back order at A-Main. I emailed Rud Dog, and they basically said they're already on their way across the pond. So maybe I'll have them by New Year. I don't know.
All right. Oh, that'd be cool. So maybe January sometime we'll do a follow-up video with that chassis, because I'm personally interested. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I've seen their stuff before, and it was always like, well, that seems a little excessive. But now that, like, this year I'm kind of taking this class a little bit more seriously than I used to,
Sure.
where I'm chasing tenths, and I want to be fast. I want to be able to say, I can hang with the fast guys.
It seems like
Why
this
not?
year the fast guys are a lot closer than usual for some reason. I don't know if it's because we all ran A scale over the summer and we haven't done that a lot, but it seems like even Tuesday night, like, we're all within tenths of each other at the end of the race.
Yeah.
So it's getting pretty close out there. It's pretty awesome. The racing has been pretty top notch this year.
Yeah.
Competitiveness.
Yeah, that's cool too, because if you're in the top of the B or in the A, it means a lot more when you're taking that spot away from someone that you know is fast.
Yeah, it's been real close. But that's pretty awesome. I definitely want to catch up on that.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun, and then the car will get, the normal maintenance probably when I gut it. Yeah, I think that covers it. Oh, and so we'll have to do an update on motor tuning stuff, because I have run not hundreds, but close to 100 dyno pulls sitting in the basement. I've got a Rotor Run Phantom Icon V2 that looks like an animal. Super, like, high power band, and it just stays up and it just pulls. So that might be going in the car at some point. And I also have an Outlaw 17.5 on the way, which I've told you about. Now I've told everybody here.
Now everybody knows.
I guess I can't stick it in the car and cheat.
It'll be fun to play with anyway.
I wanted to see, because the Outlaw motor is basically the windings don't meet the Roar specification. They're too big, which means less resistance, which means more power. I wanted to see, like, is it really that big of a difference, or is it a bunch of shenanigans? So that's going to come at some point from
I know when Trinity had that 3.5 motor, that D3.5.
And they outlawed it.
They outlawed it, and that motor was significantly faster than the others.
Right.
Probably, I think it was missing a couple windings, but that's beside the point.
So that'll be fun. And as far as, like, all the dyno stuff and going on behind the scenes, I bought a Phantom Fax Checker. So now I can do inductance and resistance of stators, and just kind of rounding out the toolkit. The only thing I can't check is rotors, but I'll have
to stop by your house and just do a video on it instead of bringing everything here.
That would be easier.
Yeah. So watch for special motor tuning edition video in the future. But anyway.
So that's the B6.
How many times are you gonna hit that tonight?
I'm going for a baker's dozen.
We're gonna be whacking the mics a lot tonight.
Guys. That's the B6. I love the car. I love the Associated stuff. I mean, it's either that or...
Me too.
Unfortunately, we're both, Reedy shirt, Associated hat. The other car that's, equally dominant is the Schumacher.
Yeah.
You'd figure one of us would maybe have one, but...
Olin was supposed to make it out tonight and bring his Schumacher, but he ended up having something come up. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. But probably the top 3 fastest guys here are running Schumacher. And then the rest... Yeah, it's a mix between Schumacher and Associated. Probably takes up 90% of the market.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, those are our race cars. Pretty standard B6s. Tyler's soon to be not so standard, apparently, which is pretty awesome. But a B6.3, can't go wrong with it right out of the box. Come down and do some racing with us. So now we're going to move on to bashing cars and crawlers. I'll let Tyler open up. He brought some of what he considers bashing, and I consider
antiques,
shelf cars. But that's a different argument, I guess. Tyler's vintage collection. Ooh.
Try to, like, line this up a little bit.
So what in the 1980s do we have here?
Yeah, I mean, I cut my mullet last night.
Okay.
But I drove over in my Trans Am.
This thing's beautiful.
Yeah, so this is a Tamiya Blackfoot. It's a re-release car, so this is not an original Blackfoot. No need to give me any hate for driving a vintage truck. But this was a truck I bought 5 years ago because they did the re-release, and the Blackfoot was the truck that got me into the hobby. And I have my shelfer that is a replica of the original truck I owned, but I wanted one that I could just kind of take out, not fall in love with and care about, and just beat the ever-loving bejesus out of. So that's what this is. I think I don't even know who makes the body. It's one of the big names. If you put a lightweight regular Lexan body on these trucks, they're way easier to drive hard. They're not nearly as tippy because the factory bodies
Oh,
are.
you got lights.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
put stupid lights on it so I can drive it at night up and down the street if I want.
You can keep talking. I'm just showing the viewers.
Yep.
For those of you watching on YouTube.
So as far as mods, it's hard to justify modifying a Blackfoot because it's a Blackfoot. But what we can show,
Oh,
maybe if you can like tilt it up a little bit, it has a vintage Novak ESC, which is called the Reactor. It was one of their later reversible ESCs. I put some cheapy Associated shocks on it because the stock shocks were actually not bad, but I thought, well, these are probably better, and they weren't. They're too stiff. The rears feel good because they have the cantilever lay down. So
the front's tight.
the front's really stiff, and they're practically vertical. It has a, I don't know, Chinese Toyo Chinkadera something eBay 27 turn motor. I run a 2-cell LiPo in it with an alarm because the ESC is not compatible, but
Yeah, that puppy's old, huh?
it is. That ESC is probably like late 90s.
Wow.
And it still works like a charm. The Novak stuff was really good. They struggled with brushless, but it moves pretty good. I'd say it's like probably on par with a 12-turn brushed Traxxas, whatever. The only like modern mod that this truck has, the tires and the wheels are different too. The chevron treads don't hook up at all. The truck is really loopy, especially on pavement. So these are like a Proline Dirt Hog, I think they call them.
Yeah.
The truck does have the MIP ball differential. So if you have,
Really?
yeah, the stock diff was good for literally half a dozen packs. And then it started making coffee grinder noises. And they all do that,
Yeah.
unless you shim them or do crazy stuff. So when I did the full ball bearings in the truck, I did the MIP ball diff. I don't know how many packs I've put through it.
Still feels fine.
And it is still buttery smooth.
Yeah.
It doesn't slip on pavement, on sand. This is like what I drive in the summer. I'll get up on a Sunday, get breakfast, go to the beach, and bang around for an hour, run a couple of packs, and it's just no pressure, no lap times. It's just chill, and there is a charm to how these things handle and how they behave. You watch it kind of like bouncing toward you on the dirt and throwing a big rooster tail because there's no slipper clutch. They're archaic, but they're so much fun.
You're just having fun with it.
Yep.
It is pretty nice. It does have, in fact, have dirt on it, so he does drive it.
Oh yeah, I didn't even bother cleaning it, which is very
Which
not
is
me.
incredible for Tyler. If
Yeah.
Anybody that knows him.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a pretty awesome little truck here. So
Yeah.
this goes to show if you do like the vintage cars, you can
Run them.
You can beat them around a little bit.
Yep. Get a re-release, put a MIP
Yeah.
ball diff in it, and just drive it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just got a little bit better shocks, so I guess better. The rear feels good.
The rear is really good. The front's just rock hard, but
Yeah, I mean, you can't jump it 30 feet in the air and expect it not to break, but Tyler's
No.
having some fun with it on some loose ground and bashing it around. That's pretty cool, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
reasonable sized jumps, takeoffs like that high. It's fine. It soaks them up, and it's vintage. It's cool. It's old. You know, guys driving around old Camaros that can't compete with the new ones, but
Something about it, right?
there's a charm. There's something special about them. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that's where it began for me.
So that's Tyler's first bashing vehicle. He did bring 2 today. So that's pretty sweet. So I guess I'll have my turn now. And I brought a couple cars today. I didn't want to leave my rock crawler friends without anything to talk about.
Represent.
Have to. So I brought my crawler. Crawling is one of my favorite things. Actually, Tyler got to try this earlier today for first time crawling. And what did you say, Tyler? What did you say?
I said it was a lot of fun, and I definitely get the appeal.
He just had to try it.
Yeah,
Not that he was being a hater or denying it, but he had never really tried it, and
right.
now he understands. But that's besides the point. So this is my TRX-4, or that's at least what it started out as. This truck I originally got when the Traxxas Sport with the Trax came out. They sent us a demo model.
This is a Traxxas?
This is a Traxxas.
Oh.
Yes. So they sent us a demo model, the one with the the tracks on it.
Yep.
And I did a video on that a while back, so you can check that out if you want. And then I took the the tracks were still on it. And then Hobby Wing came out with their Axe system, which they built just exclusively for crawling, which is a 3300 kV crawling only, which will pop the hood. Then I put that in there with the tracks to give it a little more speed and torque, and the thing was an animal. It was awesome. But then I kind of wanted to just convert it back to a crawler, so then I put tires back on it, and I did up the whole Traxxas body with all the lights and the cage, and oh man, it was awesome. But it was super top heavy. It didn't crawl very well. So I was like, all right, I got to pull that off. And I was like, I need a small body. So I was like, oh man, they make a cool OBS Ford. I love these OBS Ford trucks. So I put that on there. Pretty cool. But the problem with the OBS Ford truck body is it was kind of short. This is actually made for a Stampede. So as you can see, I cut the wheel wells kind of weird and long in the back because at the time the wheelbase was still stock. So what I've actually done to this truck is shorten the wheelbase by 1 inch. This is 1 inch shorter than a stock truck. And on the bottom of it, which we'll get into, I made the rear links. I made these myself out of 4mm threaded rod. I ordered just a length of stainless rod on eBay and cut them. I'll flip it so Tyler can see it. Don't mind the drive shaft. But these...
Hey, what happened to that drive shaft, Tyler?
We may or may not have been driving it before the show, and I just kind of had the piece glued in there, and it came unglued, but it was in there for like 1.5 years. We caught it at the right time.
I was, of course, the one that broke it.
Tyler was
first run ever with a crawler. I was like, this is fun. Hey, side note, is it normal for the rear end to do nothing?
Yeah, it'll be in the video, which may or may not be posted before this podcast. I'm not sure when that'll happen.
Is that what they call a dig?
It is. It is digging now because we got no. But that's like maybe the first. Not the first. Probably the second or third time I've broken this truck actually. But it's pretty good. But anyway, I made these links out of threaded rod to shorten the whole wheelbase because I only crawl with it inside. So I wanted the tightest wheelbase for inside crawling. So you saw how this thing turned. It was like.
Yeah, I couldn't believe, even like I wasn't picking great lines or anything, and I could not believe what that truck would climb over.
I got the steering is all dremeled out to get the most amount of steering. Tyler might find this interesting, and the viewers hopefully. The rear end and the front end have different axle ratios. So the front axle spins much faster than the rear axle. So the rear end is underdriven, and the front end is overdriven. So I can't show you because it's disconnected, but
trust us.
The front end has the overdrive, the rear end has the underdrive, which Traxxas sells. So the front tires spin whatever percentage, like 10 or 12% faster.
So what's the logic there? You want the front doing more work because there's more weight there?
So it all has to do with the steering. So actually the front will spin a little bit faster. So when you blip on the throttle, it'll actually pull the front end a little bit faster around in a circle.
So it helps your turning radius?
Helps the turning radius. When you got to blip the throttle, it kind of drags the back end because it's spinning faster.
Right, I get it.
Not so good if you're going to drive your truck around the yard and stuff like that because then it tends to beat the crap out of the gears. But performance-wise on closed course and super slow, definitely need that. So coupled with the short wheelbase and the underdrive overdrive and the wicked steering dremeled out, this thing's turned into quite the animal of a truck.
That's crazy. Look at all the weight in the front too. Like I'm looking at the back side of the wheels and it's got portals. And the portals, it looks like a ton of brass and they're metal housings.
So the housings are still plastic. Those are still stock housings. I have a bunch of brass and a combination of brass and aluminum on the axles. Hot Racing and Traxxas makes a few parts. And I got the steel G-made wheels. These are actually cast steel wheels.
Your
what?
Boss is trolling us.
He's peeking in?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Chris's favorite thing to do is to try to distract us.
He did.
Mission accomplished.
It worked. So anyway, we got the steel G-made wheels. So those add a good bit to the weight. And of course you can see I've had this all custom painted green. I It's all actually just airbrushes, stock frame, and stock plastic pieces. We painted them green, called the Green Machine.
Wait, so the frame is plastic too?
No, the frame is steel.
Oh, okay.
It's just been painted to match. I just kind of rolled with the green theme. It just kind of happened. I think Frank ended up painting green in the body, and I was like, hey, that kind of looks cool. I'll add some more green.
That is a good looking body.
But
I love that forward body style.
yeah, that forward body style is definitely one of my favorites. But we'll pop the hood here so I can show Tyler and you guys the motor and stuff, because I don't know if Tyler's ever really seen the axe system before.
Now, if I recall, wasn't this supposed to be like a crawler specific, watertight? Like I remember even the leads had like
Don't mind my battery.
watertight connections and stuff in them, right? That's the battery?
So this is actually a bigger battery. I have a smaller one. Well, I had a smaller one that went in here. It was like, I think 800 or 1000 milliamp. And it fit in this little modified servo box that I made here. But that battery died, so I kind of had to shove in this 1300, and it doesn't fit, obviously, because it's too big.
So that just runs off a 1300 2-cell?
Well, it usually runs off the 1000, and it'll get about 15 minutes out of it. So this axe system is super efficient, and we're also driving very slow.
Also, yes.
So the axe system is pretty awesome in this truck. So this is actually a 3300 kV motor, which is generally a fairly higher kV motor in general.
Looks like a 550.
So this one is waterproof. They actually made the sensor cable screw together.
Yeah, that's what I remember seeing. That's nuts.
So it actually is it's built into here and here, and it's screwed together, which I would think I would like more companies to actually do this, because this sensor cable has never gone bad. It's been in this truck for almost 3 years, and I've never had a problem with this system. It's super reliable. Yeah. That's all right. They got new ones out. They got a new one out now, the G2, so I wouldn't mind changing it out.
That's a big speedo too.
Yeah. So it's a good size, but I run 3-cell in this all day. It doesn't get hot at all. I remember you were talking about that earlier.
Oh, okay.
So it actually does come with a fan on it. You can see the points here, but I found it unnecessary, and in the name of weight savings up high, it got moved actually to the servo.
I dig this.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a
Radiator
second.
fan.
So the cool thing about the axe system, to not get too deep, but actually the axe system they built for crawling, so you can appreciate this. The rotor on the inside of the motor, instead of being just straight magnets across the rotor, they've actually staggered them. So it's actually steps. So it actually twirls around the motor. So the motor is, it doesn't make a lot of RPM. It's always on power. That's why when you're driving it, it would go super smooth at that low rate. So Hobbywing on their website has a whole breakdown of what it looks like and everything on their website. And the rotor is staggered, like a staircase, and it like twirls around. So it's always like on a magnet. It's pretty sweet.
That is wild.
So
I'd have to read up on that.
So I'll send you the link later. If you go on Hobbywing's website under the axe, they have a whole picture of it. But this thing, by far my favorite. I'm Hobbywing across the board for pretty much everything, as you'll see this evening. Buggy, truck, one I haven't shown yet. So yeah, that's the motor speed control combo. So pretty awesome. And then the servo, we talked about that a little earlier. This is the Savox 2292. Pretty awesome servo. I love the Savox stuff as well. And I do run the fan on it because I run that at 8.5 volts right from my Castle BEC.
Jeez.
I can't remember the exact specs, so don't yell at me too much here. But I think the 92 is like in the 700 ounce torque range at 8.5 volts.
That's like 3 normal servos.
Yeah, it's 7 something. And then they make the 2090, which is actually the higher torque one, which I think is just under 1,000 ounces of torque. 900 and some change at 8.5 volts. It's pretty incredible. But I chose to go with the faster one because I like when you're on the rock and you got to flick the wheels back and forth. You kind of saw that a little bit when you're playing with it.
It works. It scooches it.
It scooches the truck. And I didn't really find myself needing more torque to swap it out for that one, so I just rolled with that one. It had plenty of power.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty much my custom truck. just been a cumulative of a few years. Just to try this piece, cut this, paint this.
Yep.
But it's been an awesome truck. Probably will never sell it. Yeah.
Well, so looking at that, like that truck to me, you guys can't see it, but like the front, I'm assuming this is brass.
Oh, I painted it black.
He painted it black, but it's like kind of chipped up, like the paint's coming off it.
Yeah.
There's a certain thing with a vehicle that works and gets driven. Like that, the yellow truck, the Blackfoot of mine, is sort of the same deal. Where when you're not constantly taking it apart because it's a fussy vehicle, they get a look. You know, this truck isn't falling apart, but it looks well used. My Blackfoot, it looks the same way, and it's like those, like you just said, those are the ones that I get attached to. Where I'm like, well, even if I stop driving this, I'm gonna retire it. I'm not gonna sell it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that comes down to the shop will see it just sit and keep it resting on top next to the register.
I notice that all the time.
Just so people can kind of see what it's about and check out the tires. But I mean, I guess it sells more parts than really. Just people want to see, you know, oh, here's this brass part. What does it look like? Oh, I got that on my truck. Check out, move the wheel there. Oh, that's how it goes on.
Yep.
And then, you know, I let people try it too occasionally. They want to see, you know, I have a stock TRX-4 that I have in the shop that I rent out or let people try. And then I have this truck. So I'll be like, yeah, go use the stock one. And then they'll come back with it. It'll be like, now go try my truck. And they'll be like, wow, this thing's crazy. Well, I'm like, that started out as the same truck.
Right.
And they're like, no, it's way different. I'm like, no, look at this. I was like, oh my God, it is the same thing.
Right, and that's how, like, that's sort of like the joke of, you know, like the first hit's free, kids. You know, you get the first car, but then when you see like what the thing can do when it's modded.
Yeah, and that's why I have that buggy too, because I let everybody try that thing out because, you know, I understand a lot of guys don't want to have, you know, some random guy try their car. I get it. Those things are stupid expensive. But at the same time, I see it as, you know, if he smashed or she or whatever smashed it into the wall and break an arm or a shock or something, what's it cost me? $20 maybe.
Right.
And, you know, it's just one of those things that you really have to try because they handle awesome. You'll be out there with your Slash all day and then all of a sudden try this and it's like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes you just have to try them. And you can't buy those ready to run, so it's not like, oh, here, just buy this and you'll be good.
Right.
So that's half the reason I have these cars. So if anybody is around and wants to try them, 9 times out of 10 I'll say you can. The only time I won't is one, either it's broken, I'm really busy, or I got to charge it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is my rock crawler for all my rock crawler friends and audience out there. We'll throw this one back in aside, and I think Tyler P's got another one to share with us.
I think I have to take my headset off.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Everybody's supporting the podcast. I really appreciate that. We're having a good... Oh! What do we got? But anyway, yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching and hanging out with us. We'll let Tyler throw his headphones back on and tell us about this monstrosity.
Okay, so this is my other basher.
This thing's cool.
When Tyler and I were texting back and forth, he was like, I can't wait to see what you're going to bring. And I just responded, I said, well, they're slow. Compared to most of the stuff that, you know, like the bashing videos I've seen that Tyler puts up and most of, like, you guys, if you have a VXL Slash or something, it's faster than this. It's faster than the yellow truck, but for me, it's the vintage stuff. It's where the hobby has come from. So this is another Tamiya. This is the truck that was supposed to replace the Clodbuster. Around 1999, they came out with a truck called the Juggernaut. And it was let's see if we can stand this up. It was a solid axle monster truck with a central transmission and 2 brushed motors. The Juggernaut, unlike this guy, was a leaf spring truck. And it had issues. It did have a gorgeous hard body F350, like a 2002 F350 body, that would later be used on the high lift, I think. So to me, it kind of like, it didn't really sell. So they were like, well, we're going to throw a Lexan body on it, call it the TXT1 Tamiya Extreme Truck with an X.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, and that's what this is. So originally, the truck had cantilever suspension, and the shocks that I have since changed vertical. The shocks would have been mounted right here horizontally. There was a ball raced cantilever, and it had a reasonable amount of suspension travel. The problem with the cantilevered setup was it made it so soft that the truck would get terrible torque roll. Because again, it's a shafty truck, with dual motors. So you stand the shocks up, it doesn't lean over like a doofus anymore, and this truck is running a Novak. I know. Novak's been out of business for like half a decade now.
Only Tyler would have two
I'm
Novak speed controls.
Dude, I have we could do an unboxing of a 25-year-old Novak ESC.
Oh my god.
So this is a Novak Super Rooster. The Super Rooster was the go-to monster truck ESC back in the day. It would handle like 2 6-cell battery packs back in the NiCad nickel metal days.
Nickel metal 6
So, this was like 14 volts 25 years ago. And
which was pretty crazy.
It was. And I mean, these trucks were stupid fast, but they had an Achilles heel. The axles are a little bit on the weak side.
There's something pretty interesting going on there. The way they have the pinion mounted on the top.
Yeah, so the drive shaft comes in the top. There's a couple of bevel gears, and then it goes down into the diff. It's not like a regular ring and pinion. It's kind of weird.
More things to go wrong, really.
And it's more things to go wrong. So this truck is kind of at its limit with what I have, which are a couple of Reedy Radon brush motors. I think they're like 19 turn.
17.
17. But I don't have them geared aggressively, and I only run a 2-cell lipo. With a 2-cell lipo, I already blew out one diff.
Really?
It was on it. It was time.
It was time.
But I rebuilt the diff, and this is the other truck I take when I go to the beach to kind of just chill out and drive before people start showing up. It's fun. It's big. It's a doofus vehicle. The tires are J Concepts. The rims I think are also J Concepts.
Yeah, look like it. Nice paint job on them.
Yeah, I painted the lugs, so the little bolt heads are black, and then actually the first chance I've had to give a shout out to this company. I forget who makes the body now. You guys.
It looks like J Concept body.
I think it is, but the decals. So again, this is a vintage reproduction decal set of a real monster truck from the '80s, Excalibur, because I like the color scheme. There's a company in Canada called MCI Decals. They do vintage Tamiya Kyosho reproductions, and they also have a full suite of all the old Monster Jam decals. So if you're like when you see when you guys do Monster Jam events,
oh yeah, they got everything.
I'll bet you 90% of those trucks are rocking his decals. So if you've got a monster truck build you're doing, whether it's rebodying the new Losi, or you're doing is it Axial that has one?
What?
The other monster truck, the
Axial has a SMT10.
SMT10.
And then LMT as Losi.
Yeah, so if you're doing either of those, go to these guys. You can get any truck imaginable. Carolina Crusher, Barefoot, Bigfoot.
They do all these stickers on the side thing here? That's pretty cool.
I think I got those. So they do the smaller sponsored decals right there. But I think I got those on like a sheet off eBay or something. Those were proper, like made by a company, came wrapped in plastic. But yeah, the sponsor sheet I just cut out of a piece of Lexan to match the frame, and that was that.
I like the little headers you got on there too.
Yeah, those were okay. So another cool thing, if you're into little scale add-ons and stuff like that, there's a company called Shapeways.
Yeah.
So if you go to shapeways.com, it's basically a hub where anybody with a 3D printable design can upload their design, have their own little marketplace, and you can buy stuff from them. There are a couple of guys that make a bunch of hop-ups 3D printed for the old Tamiya stuff, and then you have guys like whoever I bought these headers off of that just, they make headers and coolers to put in the back of your crawler, whatever the case is. And then I just painted them.
Yeah, this thing looks sweet. Is this the stock frame? Is it blue?
It is. The frame is aluminum. It's blue anodized to match the shocks. Those are all Tamiya hop-up parts.
Really?
So the story is I had one of these when I was in high school, and I sold it because I couldn't figure out a few of the flaws the truck has. And I saw a guy a couple of years ago selling it This was a display model that they sold him that they weren't supposed to sell him, because it had all the Tamiya hop-ups in it.
Oh, really?
So the cantilevers that I had removed are also blue anodized. It had a bunch of bling. This truck to build new probably was stupid expensive because Tamiya hop-up parts are really
ridiculous.
expensive. But, you know, and I bought it, and dumb me, I was like, I'm going to rent it. So I've just been putting packs through it. And
It looks, it's definitely been used. It's got the same sand on it that the last one had.
Yep. If you really think that this is, like, if this kind of, like, sparks your interest, the current package that Tamiya sells this as is the Agrios TXT2. So they basically, what they did was they put a short course body on it, because that's like what the new Bigfoot body looks like. It looks like a short, like the real monster truck. They're running like a big.
It's got like the Firestone stickers on it. Right? Yeah, okay.
So they changed the body. They actually put smaller tires on it. It's the first truck they've done this size without the clawed tires, which is what this would have come with.
Gotcha.
But basically, you can buy that truck, and it comes with a vertical shock setup, so you don't have to change it over, and then throw on a set of Clodbuster tires, and you're good to go.
What's it called? TXT?
The TXT2.
TXT2.
But the name for it
check
is
that
the
out.
Agrios.
TXT. That's pretty sweet, man. I did not expect to see these trucks today. So that's two motors to a single
battery.
train.
Oh yeah, it's central transmission, drive shafts out. Oh, so the other funny thing is, I'll tip it up one last time before I excuse it. Not sure if the lighting will help here, but the drive shafts are the only Traxxas product I own.
Oh yeah, look at that.
They're Revo drive shafts, because the stock Tamiya ones are metal, and they're a little bit on the weak side. So
they're metal, and the Traxxas plastic ones are stronger.
these are bulletproof. I've had great luck with these. The only thing is the screws have a tendency to want to back out, so I've had to stay on top of that.
Yeah, they look pretty good.
Yeah.
My turn next. I'm sure that some of you guys have seen this vehicle. I, of course, have done in some videos. But it is my trusty steed.
We're gonna have to get housekeeping in here after this.
Yeah, it's a dirty episode. Well, not too dirty. This is my Arrma Mojave. And I show this thing, I don't know what the word here.
Mercy?
Yeah, there we go.
Kindness?
No mercy. I beat this thing like crazy.
Abusive relationship.
And last time I drove this was in the Park Bash video, which is right at the top of the channel, so you can see. Actually, Chris was driving it in that one, and we were basically just seeing how far we could jump it off the curb.
Go watch the video to find out why this truck doesn't have a body tonight.
But with that being said, so the story with this truck, again, Arrma had just come out with this truck, and they sent us a demo version. And yes, we still do have to pay for the demo models. It's not just a freebie.
Yeah, that's a fun fact.
Fun fact, we still have to pay for it. So the demo version essentially just means we get one before they send in like the ones to sell like 2-3 weeks or whatever after. But anyway, demo version came in. I was like, hey, that truck's pretty awesome. Can I play with it? So I started playing with it. I was like, man, this thing screams stock. This thing is ridiculously fast. I was like, man, this thing just squats and goes. So I pretty much immediately I fell in love with it. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to hang on to this thing for a little while. So I drove it around stock for quite some time, probably about a year or so, with everything being stock. I never had a problem. Then eventually the servo went on me. It was still just the stock ready to run one.
I can't believe this thing has a 10 scale servo.
So, yeah. So the servo was the first thing to go, and I doubt you guys are going to be able to see it on there, but it is tucked up here. I put the same servo in this as in my rock crawler, the 2292. I run this one at 7.4. I don't run this at 8.5, so I think it's somewhere in the 600 ounce range of torque.
Which is plenty for this, I'm sure.
Hooked to a metal horn. So it's the same servo I have in the other truck, the Savox one. I use the Savox ones mostly for bashing, and then I use the Power HD ones for racing. I have the Power HD one in my Techno Truggy, which I didn't bring out because it's missing a whole corner of the truck because one of my buddies needed some parts, and I haven't gotten back to put it together yet. But I'll do a video about that one. But anyway, so the servo was the first thing to go naturally because they put a really crappy $15 job in there from the factory. Come on, Horizon. It's a nice truck. But anyway, we swapped it out. And then I was like, you know what? I really like this truck. I think I'm going to hang on to it for a while. This thing's kind of an animal. So M2C Racing, awesome company. I went on there and I bought the M2C Racing, and I'm going to do this without bumping the mics. The M2C Racing chassis, which is I think it's 1 millimeter thicker out of a stronger grade aluminum, with less machined pockets in the bottom. Thank you.
So it's just flat out stronger.
Yeah, because the stock chassis is just a stamped aluminum chassis, so they tend to get tweaked and bent pretty easy, considering that you beat the crap out of them. So I got the M2C chassis, and I was like, well, if I'm getting the chassis, I might as well get the M2C chassis braces.
Okay.
Because these come, the chassis braces here on the inside. This is the red one here is the main, one that runs shock tower to shock tower, but underneath there, the brace, the front and rear, they just come plastic from the factory.
Which are just going to flex.
Yeah, so I was like, well, I'm already ripping the whole chassis out of this thing. I might as well get those braces. And then, continuing with the M2C, they make these heavy-duty shock studs, because the original shock studs is, if anybody has an Arrma, knows it's just a 3 millimeter bolt that runs through the shock tower with a nut on the backside. And if you hit anything significant or jam the shock up, it literally shears the screw right off the shock tower.
Really?
Yeah, it breaks the 3 millimeter bolt clean off, and it's super annoying to fix every time you drive the car. So M2C makes these aluminum studs with a 4 millimeter stud that comes off of it and a 4 millimeter bolt. So you have to drill the hole a little bigger and put in a little bit thicker stud, but that 4 millimeter bolt holds up way better than the 3 millimeter. I think some of the newer Arrma EXBs and stuff are coming with a stud like this, but I think they still left them 3 millimeter. I think they messed up. They should have made them 4, because I never broke one of these. So shout out to M2C on that. Oh, I forgot, I also have their shock tower brace in the back, the M2C shock tower. That just keeps the rear tower from bending backwards.
Wow, that's actually... That's a beefy truck.
Yes, and yeah, it's definitely beefy. I got the T-bone dirt guards in the back. I used to have 2 in the front, and I lost one in the last bash video. She's gone somewhere in the park, if anybody can find that for me. I couldn't even bring the body out today because the body is in so many pieces that I am currently in the process of painting a new one. It's just falling apart and flapping around, so I was like, I'm not even gonna bother. I mean, you can see the bumper here the rubber bit here is falling right off. I haven't really rebuilt it since then. Then after I did the M2C chassis and all those parts, I drove it again for a while, and then I was kind of I was like, man, I would get a little more power out of this thing. And then a Hobby Wing came out with a 1650 motor. I think the Max 6 had been out for a while, but they came out with the Hobby Wing 1650, I don't know where I am, 1650 motor, and a Max 6 speed control Hobby Wing. Paired together, they work awesome. Technically, this car can run on 8 cell, but I only run it on 6. Well, I shouldn't say only. I've tried it once or twice on 8. It's ridiculous. But this motor is a 1650 kV, rated for 8 cell. So I decided I'm just going to run it on 6, but I'm going to go up a few teeth on the pinion. So now the truck runs really cool, and I get a little more speed and a lot more torque out of it. Mm. This motor's got so much torque, it's ridiculous. And I actually run the Castle version of this motor in that Techno Truggy, and I raced with it all season.
I need to build a dirt car.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. And if I also did this same setup in that Typhon roller video, that had the same setup that I did in that is in this. Actually, this was the one that originally put that setup in. And I cut the stock fan off the Max 6 because that thing is garbage. If anybody has a Max 6, they know what I'm talking about. The blades basically break off that thing almost immediately. I wish they would put an aluminum fan shroud on it, but because they didn't, I did. I just bolted an aluminum fan right to it, right down through the heatsink, and put a piece of, I think it's like for like a screen door or something, just to keep some of the grass out of it. And it's been working great. That fan spins wicked fast. I run I run this 6L in it. It is mislabeled as a 4000. That's my fault. It's actually an 8000. This is an 8000 6S, and I can run this thing completely dead in this truck. No fan on the motor, just the fan on the speed control. And I bet you it would run dead without that too. And we're talking 15-20 minutes of just hard running. I don't know if I did any other upgrades to it. I have an aluminum housing on the center differential because the stock plastic one did get to a point where it got so hot and melted. The center diff got way too hot from doing donuts and wheelies and bashing in the parking lot that actually melted and the gears blew out the side of it.
That's awesome.
So I was like, it's probably time to put some heavy fluid and a metal case.
So as you were talking about all that, I was sort of peeking around at like, so this is what my OCD does, is I'm looking at like the drive line and I'm like, he's got a lot of runs on this. How worn out are the dog bones? They're not.
Barely.
There's a little bit of play, but...
there's a little bit, and I'm seeing in the back.
But like the center diff and the center diff yokes, the front yoke,
Yeah.
It's impressive the amount of power and the amount of runs that this truck has seen.
I've never changed a driveline part in this. This is still the stock front and rear differential, other than changing the fluid. The ring and pinion are still stock.
Do you fill them with grease or anything?
Oh, I grease them. About once a year I tear this truck, usually after the winter. So I love bashing this truck in the snow. Hence the reason I did also change most of the screws to stainless, so they don't rust. So every springtime after winter, I'd completely rip the entire truck down.
Yep.
And grease everything and clean it and put it back together. I got to do maintenance on it occasionally. But I've never had a real problem other than when that center diff blew up. But I was really asking for it. We're talking 20 minutes of donuts and hole shots and just completely beating the crap out of it. And that was still a stock diff, whatever the heck they put in it from the factory. It probably was nothing in there, honestly.
Right.
Well, there's nothing when we were done, that's for sure.
After you windowed the case.
Oh, yeah. Just if anybody's had these trucks and they know what I'm talking about, where the thing just completely blows apart and the gears just shoot out in the holes in the side of it, it's pretty awesome. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I got the M2C wheel hexes on there too. Makes the truck a hair wider because from the factory, these trucks actually had a problem with the rim rubbing on the A-arm. But the M2C ones are like a millimeter or two, and it's just enough where it doesn't want to rub. I don't know if it's the A-arm or the ball cup, but it was one of these things that it rubs through. But yeah, been a pretty awesome truck. Can't recommend the Mojave enough. I love this truck. Other than the body's getting destroyed all the time and being expensive, that'd be the only downside. And then these weird body mounts that they came up with that completely snap off.
I think they were attempting to make something that was a cushion.
I don't know if a straight post would be better. I did have a set where I packed foam in them, and those lasted the longest. The foam with the zip tie. But that didn't hold up in the park. That was gone. Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah. But an awesome truck, really, honestly. If you guys are looking to get a bashing truck, the Mojave's pretty sick. I love this truck.
What do they go for?
Boy, that's a good one. I think they're in the 650 range. I can't remember exactly. But that's ready to run. Just need the batteries. But there's plenty of room for huge motors in there.
I know, that thing's massive. It's the size of a soda can.
And there's still plenty of room. You know what I mean? It's not hurting. You can put a massive fan back here and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
I think that's about it. Definitely stay tuned over the winter because I got a 6 set of paddle tires for this thing in the back room. I just haven't put them on yet because it hasn't snowed. So snow bash video probably a few months when we get that first good storm. Tyler's gonna come bring his TXT. What did you call that thing?
TXT.
TXT. Tyler's bringing his TXT.
Yeah. That'd be a great comparison to your 50-volt brushless
Get
monster.
that Novak speed control wet. You can't? It's not waterproof?
No, sir.
It's alright. I'll hook him up with a hobby wing.
I'm not putting a hobby wing in my Tamiya.
It would work.
So does that one if it doesn't get wet.
But anyway.
I'll put a balloon over it.
Yes, we'll put it in a balloon.
Like they used to do.
The classic balloon. Spray it with Flex Seal. The whole thing.
I sawed this boat in half. Anyway.
But yeah, been an awesome truck. Yeah, I think that's all I brought out. We just want to share with you some of our cool toys because we've just been talking technical stuff the whole time mostly. We just wanted to have a little fun today and not have to think about too much what we're saying.
Yeah, I think this actually, I mean, usually we reflect on the podcast after the fact, but like this is fun.
Yeah.
It's always fun to talk about whatever the subject is, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I was more than a little surprised at the number of people that would come up to me at the track and be like, "Hey, you're that guy."
Oh, that guy.
Oh, what did I do? But
Tyler P.
there are people that are coming up to it, and I know it's happened to you, where people come up to us, or like people in other parts of the country that saw the podcast or saw something on the YouTube channel and called up and wanted you to build some crazy vehicle or whatever. So it's cool,
pretty awesome
to get that kind of back from the audience. So hopefully you guys are enjoying our stupidity.
Yeah, we're definitely having fun making videos. Make sure you like and subscribe because that definitely helps us out a lot in figuring out what you guys like to see and stuff like that.
Yeah, comments too.
Yeah, I love the comments too. I like answering the comments and seeing what you guys like. One more thing we want to touch on in the 29th.
Yes.
We almost forgot about that. The 29th, the podcast, we're going to try to do a live podcast, and we're going to do a question and answer. So in the next week or so, I'm going to do a post on our Facebook page, RCMadness Enfield, so check that out. I'm going to pin it to the top, and then we're going to generate a list of questions to get the show started. Me and Tyler are going to come up with some questions to answer that we hear a lot, and then we're going to have hopefully a live feed going where you guys can chime in and check out everything everything's going to be live, and we can answer any question. Well, I don't know if we can answer any question, but we'll attempt to answer any question RC related, racing, bashing, crawling,
preferences. I mean, there's it doesn't have to all be nuts and bolts and nitty-gritty type stuff.
Questions for us? Yeah. What do you like? What is this? What is that? What'd you get into that? Doesn't have to be technical, but it can be. Literally anything RC related, we'll attempt to answer it.
Yep.
See if we can even get Mr. Marcy involved with it, the head cheese. But yeah, that's going to be the 29th. That's the week after Christmas. I feel most people, or a lot of people, might have a little time off then be able to tune in.
Yep.
So that will be cool. That'll be at, we're going to try for 7 o'clock start time, give or take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
As long as the equipment wants to play ball. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. It's been pretty awesome with the support. We're going to continue to do the show. I'm Tyler C., Tyler P., and we are out. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.
Later.